Here in America, work is in trouble. We've offshored our manufacturing, sent away good jobs, and lost so much ability to make things. American Giant is a company that's pushing back against this tide. They make high-quality clothing, sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more right here in the USA. Visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com. Promo code STAPLE20.
All right, pull it. Let's just do it.
I'm not ready. It's not ready yet.
So close. Hello. Hello and welcome everybody to the AfterBuzz podcast. My name is Nico Ed, Jimmy, and your host of the AfterBuzz. And of course, with me is the one, the only Buzz Adams.
Hello,
fan of The Simpsons.
Love The Simpsons.
We're just watching a clip.
The people who say that Simpsons peaked in the 90s or whatever need to go back and watch some of the recent Simpsons. They've been really great.
It's not the same writers the whole time, though, right?
Oh,
You think Matt Groening has...
Groening?
Oh, my God. You think Matt Groening has, like...
Minimal input.
Any input anymore?
Probably not a whole lot. I mean...
You watch it with your daughter?
She doesn't seem all that interested in watching. We watch Saturday Night Live together, but she only watches the Weekend Update part. She likes the Weekend Update, guys, I think. Well, she likes that segment.
It's basically monologue jokes. I mean, those are the best jokes.
Yeah, they also have like characters come on. They made Sarah Sherman dress up like Robert Kennedy's brainworm.
Yeah.
It was either her or Chloe Fineman.
How funny was that?
Yeah, did you see it?
Yeah, hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Just that part. All right, guys. Well, today's episode of the AfterBuzz, we're going to be talking about basketball and pantry items that you should have in your home. Let's start.
I like the basketball part.
Let's start.
At one point, I was a super fan. Like, I watched all the basketball I could watch. I could recite the entire team roster.
People tend to be huge fans of the sport that they played when they were younger, and you played basketball.
Yeah.
So you probably were really, really into it like that. Like, you probably knew all the stats and names of people at some point.
Yep.
Now, did you want to ever go pro?
Yeah. If I had grown an extra 1 or 2 feet, I might have been able to make it as a pro.
Vertically or horizontally?
Vertically.
Okay.
Yeah, I was only about a foot short.
I have
of making it.
2 interesting clips. One is from Shaquille O'Neal, and one is from Charles Barkley.
Can we play clips?
Yeah, we can play clips as long as there's no audio. No music. How cool would that be to have them together on a podcast? Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley. Just 2 of the most outspoken.
I could see that getting out of hand really
almost
quick.
Out of
one
hand.
of them they've got to have somebody in there.
Some moderating influence.
Yeah.
Those are just 2 left turn.
Well, they know each other so well. I don't know. I bet do they do a podcast together?
No, I don't think, but that would be super interesting.
Well.
All right. So Charles Barkley just recently revealed that 80% of professional athletes go broke after retirement. Do you know about this statistic?
Well, yeah, but that's including guys who only played a season or 2. They didn't even make that much during their career, and that can go awfully quickly if you don't. Even if you're making millions, it's not enough to last you the rest of your life.
Well, so Charles Barkley was on the Club Shay Shay podcast with Shannon Sharp, former NFL tight end. He was saying, "I first was an idiot when I got my money." He recalled having 3 to 4 cars at a time. And he remembers his mentor was Dr. J, cautioning him against spending extravagantly.
Good advice from Dr. J.
Do you do a Charles Barkley impression at all?
It's just basically that one that Keenan does. That's terrible.
That's terrible. Dr. J said, Chuck, this money got to last you. I can't do that. Chuck, this money's got to last you for the rest of your life. Barkley recounted. Everybody knows who you are. You pull up in a Kia. They know that's Charles Barkley. You pull up in
Kia. Oh, he's given that as an example.
Yeah.
You don't have to pull up in a Bentley.
Right. You pull up in a Mercedes-Benz or Rolls-Royce, that's Charles Barkley. It doesn't matter the car that you're driving. You're still Charles Barkley.
You know, I think a lot of athletes, especially who didn't have a lot growing up or their entire life, you know, it's just, you know, anybody could end up spending a lot of their money, but I feel like people who come from really humble backgrounds,
right?
It's easy to lose track of that because you've never really dealt with money before in your life.
Actually,
and if you don't have somebody
that's a great point.
looking out for you, it's, you know, you're still a kid basically. 20, 21 years old.
And Barkley goes on to say, I don't mind a little jewelry, but too much jewelry, calling out younger athletes splurging on Dior shoes and Louis Vuitton shirts. They do know that money isn't going to last forever, right? Shannon Sharp agreed. I don't want to be poor. I've been poor. I know what it's like to eat raccoon, possum, sardines, Vienna sausages, pig ears, pigtails, pig feet. I don't want to eat that anymore, Chuck. Shannon Sharp really ate raccoon and possum? Where did Shannon Sharp grow up?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. I just thought that was an interesting statistic about the professional athletes. You know, probably and I think you're exactly spot on with people not knowing money about how to handle money beforehand.
Just not even really being familiar with the concept.
Financial literacy.
Yeah. And, you know, and you've got so many people telling you, oh, it'd be so cool if you drove this car or if you had this accoutrement or whatever, you know, probably be really nice if you had a mentor. It sounds like Charles Barkley had one and Dr. J.
Yeah. Was he really a doctor?
He was a doctor of dunkology.
All right, so the next story in basketball is going to be about Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah. He was on an episode of the Funny Marco podcast. All podcasts, right? And this is when. So this is where Shaquille O'Neal claims that NBA Finals are rigged, and this is the moment when Shaq knew the NBA was scripted.
Are your rings real?
No.
Oh, so it was scripted. You knew you was getting them.
Of course, all day, every day.
So y'all knew you was getting them that year.
I did.
Yeah.
There was a script. True story. No, I never told the story. In the first round, first championship, in the first round, I forget who we were playing. I hear Phil Jackson tell Gary Vitti, hey, get us some hotels in Indiana, because that's where we're going to play in the finals. This was like before game one in the finals, and like it didn't hit me until we got to Indiana.
Or maybe he just knew that they were the best team in the East.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard the man say. We haven't even played one game yet. They were back to me. He's like, yeah, get us some, hotel rooms in Indiana. I don't want to stay in Indiana. I want to stay on the, outside of Indiana.
Are you happy they cast you in the role of Shaquille O'Neal?
Yes, I'm very, very happy. And I'm glad we beat Reggie Miller.
Yeah, so there was like one guy who chirped up there and said, well, or else, Phil just thought that's the best team in the East. I think that's probably a lot more to the point.
Actually,
yeah, it sounds like
probably
a little, some trash talking. I don't know if Shaq actually believes what he's saying.
The article I'm reading goes on to say perhaps he forgot that during the 1999-2000 season, the Indiana Pacers were the best team in the Eastern Conference.
They were very, very dominant in the East that year
with a record of 56-26.
Yeah,
so probably just an educated guess.
Yeah. It's no different than at football games. Oh, this goes back a while. Like if our team, Oklahoma, was winning the final game of their season, people would bring oranges and throw the oranges onto the field. That means we're going to the Orange Bowl. It doesn't mean anything was fixed. It just means that.
But I don't know. It seems like there's a loss of trust in everything these days, and.
Well, there was an NBA referee who came out and said that he had, and a referee could have a big impact on a game, that he had fixed games.
Who has more of an impact, basketball refs or football refs? Probably basketball refs, right?
Basketball, probably. Yeah, I guess so. But anyway, this O'Donoghue, this referee came out and said that, yeah, absolutely, he had a gambling addiction, and he had done this at the behest of some very shady characters.
So shady, man.
Yeah, it was a big deal when it came out.
All
but
right.
it would be I mean, it would be hard as a player to really fix a game in basketball without it being obvious.
Without alerting.
You know, if you're an 88% free throw shooter and then all of a sudden you go cold and you miss 10 free throws in a row, there might be something suspicious about that, but also
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe not. But I don't think the whole thing is scripted.
I think there's too much money in it for any one party, because you got to figure people are betting both ways on everything. So somebody's going to be losing money if it's fixed, and that person will not want to be losing money if it's fixed. That's why you don't see people betting on professional wrestling, because they know.
I bet there are people that bet on professional wrestling.
You think there are people that bet on that?
I don't know who would take that kind of action, but I bet
sucker.
There are people. Like people who are really into wrestling, who acknowledge that it is, I don't want to use the F word.
Fake.
Yeah. They realize that, it's not completely on the up and up, but they're so into it, they might bet on, I'll bet this is, and so what they're betting on is what the writers are going to come up with for the next Royal Rumble or whatever.
All right, just to finish off this podcast, I have a list of 7 canned foods you should have in your pantry at all times.
Let me guess. Soup. Soup's on the list?
No, soup is not on the list. All right.
Soup would last forever in a can. It's not terrible, and you could really eat it even if you didn't have electricity or water. You could eat the soup, and it's probably going to be good for a long, long time. So I think everybody should have soup in their pantry.
Did you know they recommend you keep a 6-month supply of canned foods at all times? You must have, in case of an emergency.
Well, preppers do, I guess.
6 months wouldn't be that hard to have. All right. Number 1, store canned potatoes.
Okay.
I didn't even know they make canned potatoes.
Yeah. Get like little new potatoes in some water. And
that is exactly it, because fresh potatoes do not stick around. Canned potatoes have the potential to last for several years, usually 2 to 3 at least.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, keep canned tuna and other canned meats. When the power goes out, you want food in your pantry, but you don't want to cook. Canned tuna is a great staple. I got to tell you, though, I'm so, tuna, the smell of canned tuna is one of the absolute worst things in the world to me. It automatically makes me gag.
Yeah, but if it's a choice between that and going hungry, you'd manage to get it down.
I'd hold my nose.
I got a bunch of MREs at my house from the Korean War era. I'm tempted to...
They're not good anymore. You know that. Didn't we open one up? You have the one with the canned water.
Yeah,
that canned water was so gross.
So are we talking about things you should have in your pantry in case of a brief power outage or the collapse of society?
I think this article is just 7 things that are always good to have in your pantry no matter what.
Because if you got me thinking 6 months ahead, really what I need is a bunker, not a pantry.
Just having some things like the potatoes, like some canned tuna. Next up, stock some canned corn.
I don't even think corn contributes anything nutritionally. It goes in and comes out looking exactly the same.
Of all the canned vegetable, corn has the same taste and texture as fresh corn. It's one of the few canned vegetables that really maintains that texture. So maybe if it's not for nutrition, it's for taste at least. Canned milk. Canned milk ensures you always have milk on hand for cereal, morning coffee, mac and cheese. Canned sauces, but not tomato sauce, because the acid in a tomato sauce will essentially eat through the can.
Really?
Yes. Nut butters. And
that sounds...
Shut up. Nut butters. Beans.
You like nut butter?
I don't mind nut butter.
Mm-hmm. In your mouth.
And yeah, it depends on the nut. Some nuts are tastier than others. Yeah. And finally, canned beans.
Oh, okay.
I have so many canned beans in my house right now, and I'm not even sure what I'm going to do with them. I have cannelloni, I have navy beans, I have black beans, pinto.
How often do you consume beans?
Pretty often, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a
Pretty
side, or do you make that kind of like the main?
No, it's always like a side. Yeah, definitely. It's always like a side thing. Like there's enough fiber to help.
We always had beans. Beans was the main course of the meal at least once a week.
But your mom makes the fancy ones with like the ham hock in it.
There's a ham hock in it. It's delicious. You get some cornbread on the side, maybe some fried okra. But I had friends who would come over, and if they came over on bean night, I had friends who were just like, I am not eating that.
Really? They refuse to eat the beans?
I looked forward to bean night.
I've had your mom's beans.
Aren't they great?
They are very good. Well,
I could probably eat that for the rest of my life.
You're going to have to get your mom to write the recipe down.
She's done it at least 50 times, man.
For you?
Yeah, she's written down the recipe for that. I can never get it right. It just never comes out the same.
Huh. Maybe I can get the recipe.
If you get the recipe from my mom and you want to come over, you have permission to use my kitchen
to make your
cook
beans.
up a pot of beans anytime you want to.
All right, let us know what canned foods you've got in your pantry and any other foods you recommend just to always have on hand.
You need a stash can. You need something that looks like
speaking of canned food,
like Bush baked beans, but actually it's hollow and you can stash stuff in there.
Yeah, stuff. You know, extra money.
Yeah,
probably that. Or some smokable items.
No, but jewelry, money, bearer bonds.
All right, let us know your thoughts. You can message me at nico@klaq.com or buzz@buzz@klaq.com. That's going to do it for today's After Buzz. Don't forget to check us on Tuesdays and Thursdays and the Buzz Adams Morning Show Mondays through Fridays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 95.5 KLAQ. Talk to you guys next time.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.